Hello and welcome to Training at 2. Today's Wednesday, it's hump day, and I've got a great question from one of my clients in the Can Do Equine online training system, which I thought I would share with you today. One of my favourite things about the system is that it's got a really good comment section. So at the bottom of any of the videos, you can just write your comment. So she's written in, she told me how a horse is going with doing long lining, or she's doing long lining. And then I can read all about her horse. And so I can read that, and then I say, oh, yeah, that's fine, but try this or do this. And then I can ask her for more information. She can come back. And so we get this really good communication going. And I love it. As I jump in every morning. The first thing I do every morning and every afternoon is check the comments and reply to your comments, because they're so good. Anyway, I love this one. I particularly love this one because she's working in England, and she's long lining, and what's happening is the horse every now and then is bolting and getting away from on the long lines. And so I'll go through everything that I told her to do about that here, but she did say it was a bit muddy. In the area she wanted to work, it was a bit muddy. And having lived in England for 8 years, I wrote back and said, oh, God, do you mean that rip your welly off mud? And she goes, yes, that's the stuff. So she's trying to work a horse in the rip your Wellington off mud. And for those of you that aren't English, your Wellington is your gumboot. You would call them gumboots here in Australia. So anyway, let's talk about this horse. So she'd done the Gibson bit work, great. And then she went off and she was doing long reining. And now she doesn't have an arena, so that was fine. She was long reining in the paddock. And the horse was fine the first few times. She was long reining the horse in the paddock with its herd, and it was quite happy. And then the herd moved, and she long reined the horse in the same paddock without any other horses in the paddock. And the horse bolted, got away from her, and bolted back to the gate. I think that happened 3 times. She did that 3 times. So it had then become quite a pattern. And that's when she first wrote to me and said, okay, it was going great, but this is what happened. And so when I first read that explanation, my immediate thought was separation anxiety. So I thought, well, perhaps the horse is just, happy and comfortable working with its friends, but when its friends aren't there, it's running home, and that was back to the gate. So I said, well, I would try working at several things. I said, first of all, do smaller circles, because bolting is an anxiety thing, so the horse is feeling anxious. Do smaller circles. Work near the gate. If the horse runs back to the gate, well, you're already there, you might as well pick up the reins and work it near the gate. That was when she told me she had the welly sucking mud and couldn't work near the gate because of that. Fair enough. But if you can do that, working near the gate is great, and that's for any horse that's uncomfortable and wants to get back to its herds. It's a great thing for the barn sour horse or the separation anxiety sufferer. Just work it close to its friends first, and then slowly take yourself and the horse out of that situation into the situation where it can't actually see its friends. But don't go from being right with its friends to all on its own really suddenly. Just break it down for the horse so it gets used to each stage. And I asked her to look carefully at the horse to recognise those behaviours that came before the horse actually took off. And horses won't just be trotting around nicely in frame on the long reins and suddenly bolt. Something is going to happen. They're going to raise their head, they're going to prick their ears and look at something or hear something or something else. And she came up with something else. The horse often bolted after it slipped. And so then we started to wonder whether it was a pain issue and whether after the horse slipped, it bolted. And so with a bit of further toing and froing in the comments, I asked her for some more history of the horse's riding experience. And she said that she hadn't owned the horse very long, but when she first got it, she took it to a eventing clinic with just small jumps, nothing too good. But after every small jump, this horse bolted. And by the end of the day, they'd sorted that out. They'd worked through that problem. But again, I sort of wondered, oh, maybe that points to a pain issue. So she has the osteopath come in, so that's really good. What she did find is she couldn't hold the horse on the long reins, so she went to lunging it, which I think, quite honestly, I would find it a lot harder to hold a horse on a lunge in a long rein. But so I suggested she do short reining, which is a new module that I've introduced into the Canberra training quite recently, and it's just like long reining, but short reining. That's sort of obvious, isn't it? So you still have I use a monkey grip on the saddle, D-rings, and I put long normal rein, riding reins, split reins, up through there, so that the rein angle is still as it would be if you were riding the horse, so that's really helpful. It also means I can stand really close to the horse, but not have to be on it. So if the horse has a problem like this, I certainly don't want to ride a horse that might fall. I don't have to be on it, so I can practice walk-trot transitions and have the horse in a nice frame, and start building that bubble of communication that I can then take further away from the other horses or whatever situation the horse is feeling anxious in. So the short reining is great for that. The big thing here, especially if you have an anxious horse, is often with the long reins, you're a long way away from the horse. And they find that quite difficult. You know, the horses you lead sometimes, and they want to be on top of you. They're anxious, aren't they? They're not being rude or naughty or pushy. They're just being anxious, and they feel more secure if they can be really close to you. And the same thing will go for your horse on the long reins. So try the short reining, because it really does help those horses with that anxiety. So I have suggested she do that, and she's gone off to try the short reining and to get the osteopath to make sure you haven't got a pain issue. The problem is, of course, once the horse has done it a few times, it has become a pretty established pattern. And if pain is involved, it will have become probably a well-established pattern, because pain is a very effective motivator. It's an awful motivator, but it is sadly used a lot, and it is very effective. Horses remember patterns well when they're motivated to move from pain. So it's great that that's been sorted out, and that's always great to find out that the horse isn't suffering pain before you start implementing something else. What really needs to be done here is that horse needs to be ridden or worked within that bubble of communication. We need to get the horse into the engagement zone, where its arousal level for its heart rate variability is slightly above what it would be if it was resting, but not so high as it feels it needs to leave, which it's doing now. So there's an area in there that I call an engagement zone, and it's probably only about 10 or 15% above the resting rates, but it is noticeable. I remember in England once I went along to do, I think I was just teaching some lessons at a livery yard or something, and this woman had been doing a lot of groundwork with her horse, and she had this beautiful fat fabulous hairy pony, and she stood there for about an hour, really, I kid you not, an hour, flicking one of the carrot stick things over the horse's back. And thinking, the pony was asleep, having fast asleep. I swear the pony was snoring. And then I just thought, oh wow, it's lovely. I think the pony's got that. Move on. Let's raise the emotional level. The problem with that, with doing something where the horse is not engaged with you at all, so that horse was so far away from the engagement zone that that horse was really snoring, is that you're really wasting your time, because the horse isn't learning anything. That horse knew that lesson, wasn't learning anything new. So there's an hour where you could have been really teaching the horse something, having some fun, really engaging the horse with something new, but it's been wasted. So remember that, it's, in order to teach the horse something, you have to raise its emotional level, even just a little bit. 10% is not much, but it's enough to sort of get you and your horse thinking about it and doing things. And I find that the biggest problem that people have with training is that they haven't hit that engagement zone. And the only way you can find it is to raise and lower your horse's emotional level so you find where that nice area is. And so with our person here that I've been talking about today, you know, her horse will be okay, so it's okay for a while, and then suddenly, poof, it bolts. So what happens is it bursts the bubble, and bubble's gone, her whole bubble of communication, the engagement zone has gone, whoa, off the chart, and the horse is bolted. So you need to be able to bring it back. But the horse doesn't go from here in the engagement zone, in your bubble, to suddenly like that. It just doesn't do that unless, you know, something really scary happens, like a kangaroo jumps out of a bush or something. Can't happen because she's in England. They have no kangaroos. So you will, as the more you play with your horse's emotional level, the more you will learn to recognize those signs that come before the horse leaves, or the horse gets too scared. You'll also be able to recognize those signs where the horse is actually asleep, you know, and not engaged with the lesson. And I was doing something the other day. Oh, I'll talk about it tomorrow. Anyway, nice to see you today. Thank you very much for coming along, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.